awfully fast.
Make sure that's good to go there. All right. We're going to start in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for October 9th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, wake up! Nintendo hardware was just announced. No, really, wake up! Nintendo hardware was just announced. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Sean, TurboShawn McDowell. How are you doing, Sean?
Jeff, Mike Minotti.
Oh, no.
Might be the most boomer ass so-and-so, we're still in the first 2 minutes of YouTube,
Right.
that I have ever met in my life.
Oh, of course.
Duck Hunt over Wii Sports?
Wii Sports. It's
Are you kidding me?
Kind of a rough one. Yeah, it's kind of rough. Like
that one hurt.
Yeah.
Like, listen, he's insane for thinking that Brawl is a bad video game.
Sure.
Not the worst Smash game, not a bad fighting game. It's a bad 4 out of 10 video game.
That's right. He thinks that.
That was insane. If anyone doesn't know, you know, last night on Last of the Nintendogs, community member Joy Z, who passed these around in the Giant Bomb community, I know as well, did one of those spreadsheets of console versus console to see like mathematically which one you like better by comparing like.
And Mike's
games.
been talking a lot of mess about the Wii recently.
Exactly. So we thought, all right, Mike, let's see how much you actually like your beloved NES over the Wii. And he picked Duck Hunt over Wii Sports.
We could do a poll here, and I'm going to do one on YouTube right now.
You should, because that was a crime. That was awful, Jeff. That hurt to watch.
Is better, and then it'll be Duck Hunt and Wii Sports. Okay.
Correct.
There we go.
The correct option. Yes.
We'll see how that goes. I have a good feeling about Wii Sports. Listen, I like Duck Hunt, but he is holding all of the crimes of the Wii against Wii Sports, and he's not holding any of the crimes of Duck Hunt, which is kind of a thin game against Duck Hunt. Like
it's a 10-minute little demo is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's early light gun games. It's fun. It's definitely you bring it out every time someone was seeing the Nintendo for the first time. I get it. And that's similar to Wii Sports, but Wii Sports actually did have legs. I know he didn't think so.
Duck Hunt's a nice gimmick, but it's
nice
whatever.
gimmick.
Outside of that, I'm doing pretty good, Jeff. I'm channeling my inner Jordan Midler. I got my nice Mango Monster Ultra for the morning caffeine.
That's looking good.
It's like 5 p.m. when he does this show, so maybe that's a little different, but who cares about that?
Who cares about that?
And you know what? I'll do a plug at the beginning of the show because that's where people actually listen to plugs. We got the new travelogue up on the YouTube channel, and it'll be live on the Giant Bomb site right after this of Dan in Japan.
Yep.
That was a fun one to put together.
It looked. I just started watching it. It was like it was kind of you got it launched right there as I was putting the show together. So I'll watch the rest when we're done here. But watch the beginning. It was fun. It was like, oh man, he really does over prepare. There were a lot of gizmos going in that bag for a couple days trip to Japan.
Except for Gizmo, the dog.
That's right. Everything except for Gizmo. He's got a lot of gimmicks there instead. But yeah, good work on getting that up.
Thank you. Dan's brand of wackiness weirdly meshes with my own drier sense of humor that I get in my editing there. So whenever we make a video together, it comes out bizarrely well. So I always like editing a Dan video.
Yep. Looking forward to watching that. Other things. Hey, everyone in Florida, stay safe. It is looking like it's going to be a hell of a storm there. So, and of course,
I know some people who already evacuated. So hopefully everyone else who's like dealing with that is doing well as well.
Yep. Do whatever you got to do. But we're thinking of you and hoping for the best. And just, stay safe.
Right.
How are you doing on Metaphors? Is that still kind of the game taking up most of your time right now?
Yeah, still trucking along. Maybe that's why I'm hitting the monster this morning, is because I stayed up a little extra late playing that. Not just because, I have to or anything, because we are doing that review cast at the end of the week on BCR, but it's just really fun. It's just a really, really good game. I'm like 20 hours in right now. I'm past like the first main dungeon. This is sort of like how Persona games are laid out, Persona style games. You have the intro sequence, which, you know, pretty long. Usually any RPG intro is usually pretty long nowadays. And then you get like the first real dungeon after that, and past the first real dungeon and other story stuff is happening. That's where this game is excelling right now. You know, they keep things going. They keep hitting you with some really good storytelling. And so yeah, it's got me hooked, and I'm really enjoying it.
Did you have kind of a slow start with this game? I was trying to remember. Like, I know we talked about it a little bit, but
I think like the person around here who really didn't like the slow start was Jan, and that's because he doesn't like the Persona slow start, which is totally reasonable. They tend to be slow. I'm used to that at this point, but relative to how Persona games usually get started, this game is like lightning fast in comparison. You have a if people have played the demo, you already know what it is. But you have like an exposition dump, a lot of cutscenes, but it's, you know, it's the kind of interesting thing that is going to keep you engaged. That level of storytelling is pretty consistent throughout. So, that is the type of slow that it is. Just a lot of people talking, which is why I made it's not your game, but it's fun for those of us who are into it.
Yeah, I definitely got it. It's in front of me now as an option, but then I saw Gene Park talking about how well Silent Hill 2 runs on the Steam Deck, so I think I might go that direction. That direction instead as the next game I'm going to play here. Still trying to wrap up.
The way it was meant to be played, Silent Hill on the Steam Deck. Yeah,
that's right. Under the blankets in the dark. I'll do my best.
You know what? Yeah. You have an OLED Switch now, right?
Got an OLED Switch. Yeah. It's gonna look real good on there, I bet. Actually, so yeah,
that might actually work out. Yeah.
All right. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start Morning Mess with Forget Switch 2. Nintendo has just revealed an official alarm clock. This is from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. This is Ollie here. Okay, let's do this. While fans are absolutely desperate to hear from Nintendo regarding the upcoming Switch successor hardware, the firm has instead revealed an official alarm clock dubbed Nintendo Sound Clock: Alarmo, available now via Nintendo's official website for $100, with a retail release coming in early 2025. Alarmo will utilize motion detection technology that, if you heard us the last few weeks, that not patent the FCC filing about a device that's like kind of squarish, that might sit on a table, that has Wi-Fi and has a 24 gigahertz millimeter wave sensor. That is the sensor that will be able to track your body while you sleep. It's like when you. That's what they use.
Which seems to be not what they're using it for.
Right.
By the way,
they're tracking motion a little bit. Right. Yeah. So
it's a motion controlled alarm clock.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So basically, the gist of it is the alarm goes off in the morning, and it's going to play some of these scenes from different Nintendo games like Splatoon or Mario or Breath of the Wild. And then you have different scenes within each of those games. But once the alarm goes off, playing music from one of those games, as you start to stir, the 24 gigahertz millimeter wave can detect that motion and will give you coins or Splatoon gun firing sounds as like a reward for waking up. So in short, I just got done pre-ordering mine, Sean.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Nintendo went woke, and you had to be there day one, right?
Exactly. I gotta support their wokeness here. Real quick, funny aside, there were like within circles of insiders, there was word going around that Switch 2 might have happened, like announcement might happen this week. I think it was probably this. And like,
you think it was this? And people heard Nintendo hardware, and
it's impossible to say for sure. I was hearing it secondhand, but it was like the idea that that was going around. People dodged some bullets by not saying. Everyone knew to not be quite sure, and here we are, because that would have been a big backfiring had that happened. So. Alarmo instead of Switch 2. It would have been real funny, yes. But yeah, hey, this is weird Nintendo, which you kind of can always count on to pop up its head here and there, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you take a look at the Nintendo Museum footage that we have in that travelogue, you'll see Weird Nintendo is Nintendo, and
Yep.
people sometimes forget about that. That's the DNA of the company. They got their start with toys and whatever, and even if their business is radically far from that nowadays, they still like doing stuff like this. They like doing stuff like the Game and Watch things that they did with Mario and Zelda. They like doing these little knick-knack things. Now, granted, this is bit far from a knickknack at $100 and only for Nintendo Switch Online members, but that's a clear indicator of who it is for. It's a test of all y'all super fans who just are gonna buy it no matter what. Like you just did, apparently.
Exactly. It also like speaks to Nintendo being like, man, these pieces of shit are sleeping and not giving us money. We got to do something about that. We got to monetize their sleep. The thing does connect to Wi-Fi based on that FCC patent. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there are DLC packs or something that you could buy for this thing, or maybe just like you go to your Nintendo account and spend some of the gold or whatever, or not the gold, the platinum points or whatever it is, to unlock some other stuff on there. But either way, this is them being like, no, we of course we are a company that is engaged in play at all times, and we even want to bring that to these other parts of your life, including when you wake up. And I appreciate that. I think it does look like a kind of a cute alarm clock. I thought that the scenes and the alarms themselves were actually pretty neat. But this is also like, if people see this thing, it's gonna also be like kind of a joke, right? I don't think anyone's gonna take me seriously with this thing.
Yeah, be real with me. Did you buy for the job, or did you buy it as a Nintendo fan?
I used both to justify it, right? Like, I definitely used the Game Mess Operations debit card, and so I'm going to get a tax write-off on it.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was definitely part of it. And then the other part is it's a weird Nintendo thing that's going to be fun to have like 10 years from now when people look back and be like, remember Alarmo? Because for all these things that are weird that Nintendo does like bring out, they are always not brief asides, but asides that have a time limit on them. And,
time limit, yeah.
Labo is a thing, and that was a little less of a thing, so that was kind of brief. But there, a bunch of other examples. Like,
Labo was at least a game, man.
Oh, sure, yeah, totally. But it's all on from the same side of like, what can we do with real life particles instead of just photons in a video game? But that stuff, they move on from one thing to the next on that side of things, and so this will be here temporarily. And then they will have some new weird device in the future. But I mean, do you think that this is indicative of some wider move at Nintendo to break more into lifestyle technology devices, or is it just more of a singular, isolated aside?
I mean, with like anything any company does, basically, it may be them testing the waters a little bit. Just, oh, hey, we have some of these ideas in this category. Let's choose the one that is most likely to succeed in a more mainstream setting, and let's put it out there. And basically a smart alarm clock that maybe is the most likely to succeed right off the bat, because then, again, people like you who just want to like see this dumb Nintendo thing because you like that brand of silliness.
Yep.
Sure, why not? Like, that's the one you go for. So I don't know. I'm interested to see if they do make this weave into any of the other products. The speculation was that if this was a health thing, maybe it's tied into Pokemon Sleep. And so I could see that. If this thing has Wi-Fi, it can do updating, it has that sensor, it would be cool if this could be a sleep tracker, one that I don't need in my bed with me, because I don't know. I don't know how likely that is, but I always worry about it. I had the biggest bed in the world. It's just a full bag there or whatever. So I'm always wondering if those like sleep tracker things will just like fall off the side, or like I'm worried about knocking my phone over. So if they could tie it into that, I could see a little more value. But right now it's I don't know, bizarre product.
Yeah. And I get being skeptical that they would expand on what they're doing based, like they have the video, which I can play here for people in a second, but they just talk about a few features right now, which is like the motion tracking for the little gamified alarm in the morning. They talk about the different scenes. but they don't talk about app connectivity as far as I could tell, right? Like where it is like actually giving you data about your sleep, which I theoretically could do that. And then there's no mention of expandability of the actual content. Like there are the 5 games, 7 scenes each. Those 5 games are Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, and Ring Fit Adventure. And they even have like some like fun stuff where it's like when you're going to sleep at night, there are scenes inspired by these games of like calming sounds. So Pikmin nighttime sounds like chirping and stuff like that. That I sleep with that kind of stuff. So I like these ideas, and I'm
kind of doubles up as a white noise machine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't think that this is actually going to have some big digital economy attached to it or anything like that.
No.
And if they do expand it, I think it will be a companion app. But yeah, if they're not going to introduce that now, and they're not promising it now, and this is limited to for the moment, limited to Nintendo Switch Online members, and then being in the Nintendo Store, makes it feel like just a fun gadget that they're going to move on from pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe they occasionally do it where, hey, this thing can now do this thing. They do make small little updates. This isn't quite the same, but like when Pokemon Go Plus came out, that came out alongside Sleep, and it was basically the same thing. If you remember that little Pokemon Go Plus that you would wear on your wrist,
right,
and you would press a button, so that way you wouldn't necessarily have to interact with your phone while you're out walking, or like, it's too cold to or whatever. And then they released a disc version, like this hockey puck looking thing, and they were like, yeah, it's the same thing, but now it can also be a sleep tracker dedicated, so you don't need your phone in bed with you for using Pokemon Sleep. And so I could see them doing like an sort of that type of thing with this, if it's not ready for this already. As far as I can tell, all the tech is there. So
right. Bungus in chat says today in the video they tease Mario Kart and Animal Crossing, which is that seems like the kind of stuff they have ready to go, sure, and they save it for later. Do you think that those are to line up with the Mario Kart and Animal Crossing games that will launch in the first year on the Switch too?
I'm sure this is a big pillar of their marketing plan for those games, Jeff. Those games really need the boost.
What if this is just like it's in people's homes and we can just blast them with Nintendo ads in the morning? There you go.
Oh my god! if they don't even announce it and you just see Mario Kart 9 on your bedstand,
available now,
you think you're having a delirious dream? That'd be so funny.
Nintendo Directs just play automatically and you can't turn them off. Yeah, you try to unplug it and it doesn't turn off. It's just powered by evil.
We figured it out, everybody.
I think this thing is cute. There's like a little light on top that's got that like glowing morning light aspect to it that is supposed to be better.
I'll be real. If it was even like a little cheaper, I might consider one. If it was more in like the 60 to 70 range, just like $100 freaking for an alarm clock.
It looks like the kind of thing that would be like $45 on Amazon, and then you get a Nintendo tax on top of it, and that gets you up to 60.
Right. Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of alarm clocks on Amazon that do have like those bigger like sunlight lights on them, and those can be like $200, but this is not that. This is not going to have the same exact effect. This is just like gesturing towards those things. And the screen on the front is probably low resolution, and looks good in these videos, but it looks like
it's updating at a pretty low frame rate too.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the power of the chip or the screen itself.
Right. So just not expecting. Yeah, and they're like zooming in on it, and actually like you can kind of look at it. It looks pretty low resolution. So it looks cheap and cute, and I pre-ordered mine, so what does my opinion matter? But I get a lot of people like, okay, what is this? Why is Nintendo so weird?
Someone in the chat is making a joke about the Alarmo OLED model in the future, but that's a concern of mine. If this is not an OLED screen, that thing is going to keep you up, Jeff.
Yeah, it is right, because if that glow comes through, and really anything, if it's a cheap
LCD, it's going to glow.
Yeah, it's going to have some glow to it. I guess maybe one of the ways they could do that is to make it almost very directional pixels, where it's like unless you're like facing right at it, you don't quite see it until it like is much brighter. But I don't know. That they're probably not thinking that far. They're probably thinking, what is the best way to get huge profit margins?
They're thinking we just got $100 from Jeff Grubb without even doing anything. That's what they
cost us $8 to make.
Yes.
Fucking sucker. All right, we're still in the same story here, so let's go to this next headline. Nintendo explains why it made an alarm clock. This is from Nintendo Everything. Today's announcement of Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo came a bit out of left field, but in a new interview today, we get to hear about how the whole thing came together. A discussion was posted on Nintendo's website featuring producer Yosuke Tomori and director Tatsuya Akama. Tomori revealed that the project began with research into motion sensor technology. However, making an alarm clock wasn't the first thing decided. Rather, Tomori said Nintendo was looking to support people during their sleep, and we were looking for a way to achieve this. Tomori and Akama shared the following. Tomori, one of our in-house projects was to research motion sensor technology. As this sensor maintains privacy since it doesn't use a camera, we had an idea for how it could be highly suitable for use in the bedroom, so we decided to kick off a new project to see what we could do with it. Now, to be fair, with the millimeter sensor technology, that's the stuff they use in like airports when you walk through and you got to put your hands up like that, and it takes a scan of your body.
Right.
They could see it all. They could see the outline of everything. Like they can't see like your.
Excuse me.
They can't see your skin, but they could see everything. Like it's like they
just know, the bones, huh?
They know how big it is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, but now that it's very unlikely that data is actually being transmitted to Nintendo. There you go, do the Mike Minotti face. Yeah. But still, it's like privacy concerns might remain, I would think. Anyhow, they continue. I see. So you started development from scratch while also making use of ideas that already existed. You mentioned that a motion sensor could be suitable for bedroom use, but was it clear from the beginning that you'd be making an alarm clock? Mori, actually, not quite. We knew that the theme was supposed to be was to support people during their sleep, and we were looking for a way to achieve this. However, it was only after a lot of technical trial and error and building mini prototypes that we decided to focus on alarm clocks. So yeah, like that. This is like seems to be born out of one of these Nintendo things where it's like we are always researching and developing new ideas and new technologies. And one time that was the vitality sensor, and now it's motion sensing technology. And how can we use this? And this is something that isn't a camera but has similar capabilities to a camera, so that enables us to do things in places that are maybe a bit more sensitive. So let's play around in this space, and then they sort of stumble into an alarm clock. Part of me still very much appreciates that Nintendo builds things in this way that can lead them to putting out a product like this. And it doesn't seem like it's going away. If anything, they're getting weirder.
Yeah, they're more likely to get weird because there's more weird products on the market. It's a little weird that this isn't something more in line with, say, a Amazon assistant or assistant from Alphabet. I'm trying to avoid triggering those. But yeah, the fact that it's just a sleep aid. I don't know. Is it really even sleep aid? That's kind of how they're talking about it. But I mean, it's just an alarm clock. No,
it sounds like that they were trying to develop a sleep aid. They were trying to,
and they like sort of pivoted away a little bit.
It sounds like they pivoted away to something that is a little bit more basic.
Right. Because like what would they even do? Again, I know I keep bringing it up, but outside of something like Pokemon Sleep, that, it's a sleep tracking app like other ones on the market. So there is benefit to that.
Right. People point, it has the stuff that like can help you fall asleep at night. Right. So maybe that's where it like begins its support journey. Yeah. As we talk it out and as we hear their motivation, I at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if like they are like gently introducing this as this is an alarm. Don't be afraid because it's just an alarm like any other alarm. Yeah, yes. Don't be alarmed. And they actually probably do have some other stuff in there that like they will maybe introduce later of like,
they're easing people in.
They're easing people in. Yeah. Starting off with, we're watching you sleep and we're going to tell you everything about your sleep. Maybe they think people would be a bit sensitive to that. And I think they're right. That especially when it comes to using any sort of like actual body sensing technology, right? Even outside of cameras.
So they point to this and be like, no, it's just like, when you would like get up and wave at it to like shut it off or whatever. Right, exactly. Like it's fine.
Yes, like just think about it when you are awake and conscious and capable of giving consent or whatever.
We live in a weird dystopian future, Jeff.
Yeah, it's definitely oddball out there. But hey, again, I pre-ordered this thing. I'll use it. It'll probably annoy my wife, and so I'll use it for a night, and then who knows? Maybe I'll give it to one of the kids. We'll see. All right, moving along. Spongebob developer aims to produce Nintendo Switch games, the original Switch, until 2028 at the least. At the earliest or latest, yeah, at least. This is from My Nintendo News. In a new interview with Video Gamer, PHL Collective, the company behind the recently released The Patrick Star game, has committed to releasing games on the original Nintendo Switch system. The Patrick Star game's production director, Chris Rose, said in the interview that he believes they will support the system until 2028 or perhaps even longer, and that he urges smaller developers not to completely abandon the platform for the Switch 2 due out next year. That's because Nintendo's console, which released in March 2017, will continue to have a large install base and has the target audience for the company's colorful games. They kind of go on to say it's going to be similar to the PS2 and have an audience of younger gamers that will continue buying licensed games for quite some time. That's probably mostly true. It won't be like the PS2 to the levels the PS2 was, because that audience is, they're engaged with the Switch, but they're equally engaged, if not more so, with their iPads and other tablets, where they're getting similar kinds of games at this moment, or similar kinds of licenses, I should say.
Right. I would expect it to be more like the Wii, where it is the type of thing where it becomes a device for the younger people in the household, or just households who don't really care about gaming at all, and they just buy the occasional thing. That's the audience that they're going for here. You know, Just Dance kept going for a very long time after the Wii was dead. It was 2019 was the last time they put one out, because it was 2020 or whatever. And yeah, people keep buying it, so why not? The Switch is, I think, even more ripe to just keep going like that, because for a simpler game, it has more than enough power to do it. It's not like when we had previous generational transitions and the weaker hardware could not handle something that was being produced for the newer hardware. I think more than ever, games are scalable, so you can just release a game for a Nintendo Switch, and that's fine. It's why we still see a lot of games releasing on PS4 and Xbox One. It's because if your game doesn't need the horsepower of the new system, you might as well put it on the previous system, so as many people as possible can play it, and then it just runs better on PS5 or Series, because you have the extra horsepower there to smooth over those versions of the game. You can do console-specific upgrades and everything like that. So I think more than ever, it makes sense to, make your simpler games for the lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah, and Nintendo can obviously facilitate this, right? By making sure that it is pretty easy when you build a game for Switch 1, that developers know what they need to do from the beginning to take advantage of the Switch 2 without having to do too much extra work. So if that is an easy process, everything you said would be even more true, because you release your game for Switch 1, it does take advantage of the Switch 2, and even if maybe your game's borderline and it runs on Switch 1, but it is 30 frames per second and could be even better on Switch 2. And as long as that's not too much work for these developers and publishers that are producing licensed games primarily for children who aren't going to want to spend a lot of extra development resources to mess up their profit margins, then we might actually still get those benefits. And and then otherwise, even if it doesn't have those benefits, the backward compatibility, even if it's like for some reason these games only run a couple frames per second better, they'll still just put it on the Switch for all the reasons you said, where that's just the business case makes a ton of sense. And again, especially for these kinds of games.
As long as you don't need the extra horsepower, it's kind of just a win-win for everyone involved.
Yes, exactly. And then in terms of like 2028, by then, at that point, there probably will be, and most of the audience has moved on to Switch 2, and you can just put your game out.
Those Switch lights will probably still be kicking.
Yeah.
And, little Timmy, who's still only like 8 at that point, will probably still be using it.
Right, exactly. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, there is a new movie coming from Sega. This time has nothing to do with Sonic. And then Captain Hook is in a video game right after this. All right, let's get back into it. with Universal Pictures and Sega announce Shinobi movie. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu.
Oh.
Universal Pictures has announced a collaboration with Sega to develop a movie based on the Shinobi video game franchise. The movie will be directed by Sam Hargrave of the Extraction franchise, and the screenplay adapted by Ken Kobayashi of Sunny, who wrote Sunny and Move On. Mark Platt and Adam Siegel will produce through Mark Platt Productions. Dimitri M. Johnson will produce through Story Kitchen. Toru Nakahara will produce through Sega, and Mike Goldberg will executive produce alongside Timothy I. Stevenson, who is co-producing as well. There's an overview here of the game series from Universal Pictures. Let's see how they talk about it. The Shinobi series first debuted in 1987 as an arcade game and primarily follows protagonist Joe Musashi as a modern-day ninja who confronts a great evil. Crafted with a focus on epic and edgy action, the Shinobi franchise spans 14 games, including spin-offs and ports, with over 5 million copies sold worldwide. A new entry in the series was revealed in late 2023. More information about the new game will be revealed at a future date. First, I did not know that Shinobi's name was Joe Musashi.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
That's canon.
Second, sure. Why not? Yeah, I like Shinobi. It's cool. It's got a cool look and atmosphere and cool character design. Shinobi 3 is really good. Shinobi.
Did we not already know about this one?
Did we? I don't remember hearing about this one. Yeah, personally, I don't.
Okay.
I think I remember hearing about Shinobi recently because of the game announced at the Game Awards, along with those other things. So I've definitely had Shinobi in my head.
Yeah, because they've talked. Sega has talked about the various things that they want to adapt, and the big ones were like doing Yakuza and Persona stuff. I couldn't remember if Shinobi was going to be one of them, but it makes sense. You know, like just make a ninja action movie. Why not? There's a history of those succeeding, regardless of quality even. So makes perfect sense to put one of these out. We're assuming this is live action, correct? Because I don't think it actually says, but that's the assumption at least.
Yeah, I think that's the assumption. Yeah. Usually you do animation, you're going to get an animation director. I think the Extraction franchise, Extraction, is that those? Wait, those the Chris Hemsworth movies? Because if he directed Extraction 2, that movie owns. It's so much fun. There is an incredible action sequence in it's on Netflix. It's like one of those Netflix action movies. Yeah. Extraction 2 rocks. It is just a ton of fun. I like seriously recommend it to anyone who's like into action movies. There is a long one-shot action sequence that basically is like a Call of Duty action sequence, and like one of the better ones. And like there's one point where like someone like throws fire at Chris Hemsworth and he like blocks it with his arm, and his arm's on fire for the rest of the fight as he's punching dudes. What more do you want? So if they bring that energy into this, I'm on board. That's a good time to me. So yeah, that makes it sound like we are talking about live action here. That's right.
Oh hell yeah, the IMDb is a 7 out of 10. That's how you know it's a good action movie.
Yes, yeah, that's right in the butter zone. You want it right there. I tried. One of my character flaws is I've watched the first John Wick and I didn't love it. So I've not seen. Okay. I started John Wick 2 and also wasn't falling in love with it, so I stopped. And I'm like. When I watch Extraction 2, I'm like, why can't John Wick be this fun? Now, I know John Wick keeps getting better. I will watch John Wick 4 eventually, everybody, but...
I'll take people's words for it. I didn't see more than the first one.
Yeah. Extraction 2 is just a really good time. So, hey, that's cool. I think Shinobi can be something that, like you said, it's fertile ground for bringing in a certain level of quality of action, and maybe you could have something fun here. And then if even you don't, ninjas are cool even when the movie's bad.
Exactly. Right. It's kind of a safe approach if you're going to go for another one of these adaptations. Have you seen the trailer? I saw this. I didn't actually watch it. I saw in passing last night that they did put out that trailer for the Yakuza TV show.
I also saw it in passing. I have not sat down to watch it.
Okay. I'm wondering how people feel about that, like fans of the series.
Yeah, I haven't seen too strong of a reaction one way or the other.
Exactly. So that's why I didn't even hear that trailer was out, unless... Maybe you mentioned it in passing on here, but yeah, I'm curious to see how people are feeling about all these adaptations that Sega wants to branch out into.
Yep. What's the Tom Cruise action movie that they just did a show of on Amazon on Prime Video?
Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
So not Mission Impossible?
Not Reacher.
'Cause that's too obvious.
I like Jack Reacher better than John Wick. So again, character flaw. I get it. But I think that first Jack Reacher movie
You are a white guy from the suburbs.
Yes.
What
definitely.
the hell?
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, like, be mad at me. I get it. Yes. What the fuck, Grubb? Wow. The Mike Minotti face from Dan Riker. Grubb only likes bad things. Listen, I'm just speaking my truth, and you are right to criticize. I cannot help it.
Damn, this motherfucker's a dad.
All right, let's move on here. Captain Hook, Cruella De Vil, and Maleficent seemingly are coming to Fortnite in the next update. This is from my Nintendo News. Exactly. Whatever you say. The next batch of Disney-themed skins coming to the popular free-to-play game Fortnite have been leaked on Twitter. HypeX says that Captain Hook, Cruella De Vil, and Maleficent are destined to star in the game's next update. Fortnite's currently on blah, 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 which is set to run until early November. So that's when you maybe can expect it. I get it. Like, they're not going to just put Mickey Mouse in there with a gun. That one's maybe tough to pull off. But I also, it's like,
but what if they did?
Yeah,
you know?
what if they did? And maybe they should. John Drake.
I mean, first of all, we know it wouldn't be Minnie. To be clear,
you're right.
It would be Mickey.
Who even knows about?
No one
Minnie
knows
Mouse?
who the hell Minnie Mouse is. Come on.
But Cruella De Vil with the gun still seems a little weird to me. Not that I'm against it. I love this. Do more of this stuff. It just still seems kind
Cruella
of
De
weird.
Vil with a gun makes all sense in the world. Actually, when I'm looking at this lineup, I'm like, oh, no wonder it's these three. Oh, okay.
Like, Maleficent holding a Fortnite gun is a very powerful image. As I close my eyes, that's funny and fun and good.
Maleficent with a knockoff AK-47
Right, yes.
is a funny image in my head. Yes.
Like, it scares me in a sort of tantalizing way. Like, yeah, what's happening here? So yeah, and Captain Hook is just fun all around. I assume these are all going to be, because I didn't even look at the images here. I assume these are all going to be from the animated versions. I don't think it's going to be Emma Stone, Cruella De Vil, and Fortnite, although that would rule too.
That would rule. Yeah,
put Gaston in the game, says Dr. Ryan. There you go. That guy does have a gun in Beauty and the Beast, so... There you go.
Cruella's packing heat. Come on now, she ain't show, but you know she is. How do you think she got rid of those dogs? She ain't being nice about it.
She's definitely on next door, worried about when people are walking through her neighborhood and like polishing her gun all the time.
Pure evil. She just has that revolver in the clutch at all times.
How are you feeling about the state of Disney integration into Fortnite? Like, this is not part of the big. Epic is making a Disney thing that is going to be its own thing off to the side, and it's going to be massive. And Disney invested $2 billion.
You'd have to
whatever
assume
it was.
that's part of why the relationship is there.
One leads to the other, absolutely.
Yeah,
they clearly have a very strong relationship, but this is not that. This is still like other deals orbiting that. Some
make sense, some are weird, because seeing Marvel characters in that situation, even seeing like Spider-Man holding a gun is odd. But so I fired it up the other day just to like see how much some of the Incredibles would be to buy, and that's why I realized, God, it's like $20 to buy a skin in this game or whatever. Jesus Christ. It's weird seeing those Pixar characters holding guns. It is very odd seeing Elastigirl hold a gun, you know?
Which, to be fair, I've seen a lot of images of her in that game, and I haven't seen her hold a gun once. She's just doing the hip dance every single time.
She's just doing the hip dance.
Over
we
and
all know
over,
what we're there for.
A million videos of that.
On loop.
Yeah,
absolutely.
on a loop.
TikTok is a magnificent platform.
But yeah, you're right. It feels strange. But at the same time, it feels like there's so much gravitational pull into Fortnite that these characters they can't escape it. Like, it feels inevitable to a certain degree. So I don't know. Something gets your goat.
The gravitational pull of Elastigirl's fat dumpy is what's
exactly.
What's getting me there.
And Jan says, you control what you search, Grubb. I don't know if I do, actually. I have compulsions.
He just loses himself when he starts typing.
I black out sometimes. Who knows? Jan also in chat did say live action Dustin Hoffman Captain Hook in this game. Mm-hmm. That would rule. That I would love that. That would be fantastic. I doubt we're getting that, but man, in a world where all this stuff is happening, why not give us that one day? All right, new F-Zero 99 data mine suggests Mario vs. Donkey Kong event could be coming. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. It's been a little over a year since F-Zero 99 Shadow dropped onto Switch, and after receiving a bumper update earlier this month, it looks like Nintendo still has some event ideas up its sleeve. While digging through the files of the recent 1.5.0 update, data miner Luigi Blood, a real name, uncovered references to a Mario vs. Donkey Kong festival event, something that might appear a little late, but could just as easily tie in with the platformer's first anniversary in February 2025. According to the summary of Luigi Blood's findings shared on Tumblr, the event referenced is just text and hasn't been localized outside of English, meaning we have very little to go off as far as details are concerned. That said, the data mine suggests the event will include a mini Mario League and additional star rivals named Mario, Mini Mario, Donkey Kong, and Toad. Judging by previous 99 events, we'd expect the Mario vs. Donkey Kong Festival to be limited a time affair where we'd likely see themed tracks, music, and emotes. To me, this sounds like something that they were considering and abandoned because Mario vs. Donkey Kong came out a while ago. And sure, the game...
I had to look it up. It was this year.
Yeah, it was earlier this year. So like they said, we're approaching the 1 year anniversary of its release. But I don't know, like with Nintendo, what they do usually when they do have events like this in games, and for the most part, that's been Tetris 99 with the Maximus Cup stuff. Those do come out right around the release of those new games, if not before the release of those new games.
Yeah.
So this feels like they were like playing around with the idea of like, okay, well, what if we did one of those events, but in F-Zero 99? That could keep give some juice to both these things.
Yeah. And
because it never happened and it hasn't even been localized into English yet, at least, based on what's available in the data mine, there could be plenty of stuff that just hasn't been put in an update yet. To me, it sounds like something they tried and maybe it didn't quite work. And so they abandoned that work. I like the idea of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird combination, but one that where, you can theme anything around anything with these Nintendo properties. So why not? I do think a Tetris one would have made maybe a little more sense considering
it's so
how
easy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially Mario versus Donkey Kong just being a puzzle game itself, that would have felt like a better fit. So yeah. I'm kind of curious, why that would have been the route they chose to go with.
I mean, did Tetris 99 have a Mario versus Donkey Kong event? It might have. I don't remember.
It may have. Yeah, I haven't played that game in so long. After it became just people who are really good at Tetris playing it, I was just out.
Like 98 Baileys versus you. Yeah, it's rough.
Oh, well, no, because I beat Bailey. So
you did? Okay, never mind. Yeah, easy. Tetris 99 Alarmo event win, says Jason Finelli. Yeah, let's make that happen. Either way, if they want to do more stuff like this, like I think you're right, Tetris 99 would make more sense, but an F-Zero 99 event would maybe be more exciting to me because it's like, they are really doing stuff with F-Zero 99 and this is weird and cool and I'll hop in there for something like that.
This is exactly why they would have done it, because people have fallen off of Tetris 99, but F-Zero 99 still kind of fresh in everyone's mind, so that's probably where you would want to go if you want to promote something.
And I think they want F-Zero. I think they see potential for F-Zero 99 to have the longevity that Tetris 99 has had, which you can't say about all the other 99 games, or Super Mario 35, which I suppose was always supposed to be a limited time thing. Go to hell, Nintendo.
Man, that's the one that stings.
That stings real hard. But like,
that game was sick.
I think they wanted all the other 99 games to have the same kind of life that Tetris 99 has had. And maybe F-Zero 99 can, and one of the ways that they were thinking about facilitating that was through these events that have worked so well for Tetris 99. But again, the theming around that stuff for F-Zero's got to be a little bit more difficult. So, themed tracks, like what is that? Like, you could just replace a couple of textures so they pop up in the game?
Right, like I'd imagine they would make it you're just going through the toy factory,
Right. Yeah, and you I guess you could replace a skybox texture with something that just has...
Exactly, it's just a PNG or BMP, I guess it would be. But
then, F-Zero 99, who knows? Maybe they did build that from the ground up and use PNGs. All right, Litte Big Planet 3 and Litte Big Planet DLC are being delisted from the PlayStation Store. This is from Tom Ivan at BGC. Sony has announced that Litte Big Planet 3 and Litte Big Planet DLC are being removed from the PlayStation Store. The PS4 platformer and the entire range of DLC for the franchise will be pulled from sale on October 31st, 2024. Anyone that currently owns or purchases Little Big Planet 3 or any Little Big Planet DLC before it is delisted for sale will still be able to access their purchased games and content after its removal, the platform holder said. Sony-owned Little Big Planet creator Media Molecule also wrote on Twitter, Little Big Planet shaped us as a studio and remains an important part of who we are. We are and will always be forever grateful for it and the incredible community it has inspired. Yep, Little Big Planet, been around for a while, started on PS3, a build-your-own platformer kind of thing. An early example of those, or an early big example of something like that. Definitely had a lot of success. Obviously, they made 3 of them. There was, Mon Nation Racer. It's kind of a spin-off, right, that they did of a kart racer variation on it.
Well, that was different because Little Big Planet karting was a thing.
It's Little Big Planet karting the thing I'm thinking of? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Mon Nation Racers not have a build-your-own kart aspect to it? I
believe, I'm just saying, like, was it specifically a Little Big Planet game? I don't think it was.
I don't think it was a Little Big Planet game. No. Yeah. So this is sad for sure. First of all, this sucks that they're removing it, and I suppose it's so they don't have to do support, which for a game that has community aspects to it, community content, maybe a little bit more challenging than a standard game, but I don't think it's some massive challenge. But all that stuff seemingly is going to have to go away now because they are pulling the game down because they don't want to do that work anymore.
This is really, really dumb.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if you're going to pull the online support, that's fine. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but this game does still have offline content, does it not? It still has like some single player stuff you can do, right?
Yeah, and people in chat are noting the servers have been offline for a while. Hackers effed them up years ago. Yeah.
Well, that's true too, but they definitely didn't take the servers down just because of that. They just did because, it's been so long. But this is a weird thing to me anytime a company says, oh, part of this game doesn't work anymore, therefore we are delisting the entire game. That's just a dumb approach because it's just bad for preservation. First of all, like, games should just be readily available.
Yep.
It's this back and forth we have.
Yeah.
Right. It's this back and forth that we have with companies about they don't want us to pirate games, but they also don't want to make games accessible. So how do we play your games?
Right.
There's no good approach to it. I see someone pointing out that this game has licensed music in it. If that is the case,
that'll do it a lot of the times. Yep.
That'll make more sense. It's also the reason you don't put licensed music in your games outside of, like, music libraries that you handle and everything.
Yeah. It makes me think about Sackboy's Big Adventure, which also has maybe not licensed because they're recreations of songs, but there's definitely still copyright issues with that stuff. So is that game not long for this world as well?
But that's still like a responsibility that these massive companies who can absolutely figure something out should be taking on, and not taking a piece of art, this thing that's been crafted, away from the people who want to give you money for it.
It's rough.
It's dumb.
Yep. And it does feel like the best case scenario here should just be leave it as is, and sure, it's not the game it once was, but
put a gigantic notice over it in the PlayStation Store saying, hey, this game has limited functionality, you must tick this box if you agreed to buy it. That'd be fine.
Exactly. But no longer. And it also feels like the age of Little Big Planet and its kind of game is also over, right? Even Super Mario Maker is not getting a sequel. That's
the thing that has always, whenever Sony does something like this, you can't escape the Jim Ryan quote about them not caring about old games. It's certainly not true for the entire company.
No,
but it not beating the allegations there a little bit when they are like, hey, we're over this. We're not really making a ton of money off this anymore. So who cares about it? And it's a dedicated audience, but they do care. And it's bad optics anytime stuff like this happens, because it does kind of just stockpile a little bit. Even if you do have good and justified reasons for doing it, if this is licensed music, I get it there. It's just, again, bad optics. And I wish giant companies would figure out alternatives past to this, including maybe being a little safer with the making of your game. I know it was like 10 plus years ago or whatever, but you got to think about some of these things ahead of time.
Yep. Yeah. And some lessons learned, unfortunately, feels like those lessons are now don't make these kinds of games. So
exactly. Or just, you know, like obviously something like Guitar Hero, you can't get around that. But
right.
yeah, just like your one little level that had the licensed song in or whatever, maybe don't, or maybe have a built-in option to not have that license in, so that way you can easily yank it out later. But
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, make a built-in escape hatch into your games for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing here. Polygon did a pretty good breakdown of the front runners, dark horses, and challengers to come for Game of the Year. And partially, I'm including this because they did secretly reach out and like, what is Giant Bomb thinking? I think they did that for a lot of people, trying to put their finger on the pulse.
Secretly, huh?
Yeah, well, it didn't need to be a secret. They're like, we're just trying to like gauge it. So we were just helping out a little bit. Ollie Welsh over at Polygon does this and is going to keep updating it apparently as we get through the end of the year. But at the moment, in their estimation, Astrobot is still the Game of the Year front runner. And they have like stuff like why it could win, its weakness, and momentum. And so like for why it could win, it's, you know, with a 94 Metacritic score at time of writing, Team Asobo's delightful platform game enjoys the strongest critical consensus of any game this year. But its weakness is games nominated in the family category, as Astrobot surely will be, very rarely break through in the main competition unless they're so strong, or unless they're also strong in the narrative category, which Astrobot, for all its charms, is not. Like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's a chance that just not being viewed as important because of its story might hold it back in the final voting. Meanwhile, newcomer Metaphor Refantasio is number 2 on their like tracking list here. And they say it could win because the distinctive role-playing games of Atlus's Studio Zero have been critical darlings for a long time, but Persona 5, which was nominated for Game of the Year and won Best RPG in 2017, propelled them to a new level of popularity and acclaim. Now Metaphor is here to ride that wave with solid game mechanics, strong storytelling, and memorable characters in a favored genre. This could be the moment Atlus's brand of RPGs outshines genre stalwart Final Fantasy. Then number 3, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Number 4 is Balatro. Number 5 is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. 6, Silent Hill 2. And then their dark horses are Dragon's Dogma 2, Helldivers 2, Animal Well, UFO 50, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Black Myth Wukong. And then the upcoming games to keep an eye on still are Dragon Age The Veilguard, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Metal Gear Solid Delta, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Yeah.
Good luck with Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Yeah, they point out it would have to be a bold take, and we know for a fact at this point it's not a bold take. I guess we have a strong inclination that it's not a bold take unless they are swerving us hard, which I highly doubt they are. So yeah,
I think it's just not coming out this year.
Oh yeah, right. Also that, yes, good point.
Yeah.
But when it does come out, so it's going to be the same problem. It's not. It's just not going to be a Game of the Year consideration because it's going to be 1-to-1. Yeah, this still sounds right to me. I still think Astro probably is the favorite, but I think that puts it in a situation where people feel good about pushing Metaphor because it is coming out late. It'll have a little bit of that recency bias, and then it will also just have like, well, yeah, man, it's not the favorite, and this is actually my favorite game, so I feel really good voting for it. Like, yeah, let's give it a chance. And I think a lot of that could happen. And I also think the point about, you know, they haven't won Game of the Year before in you know, from the Game Awards, I suppose is what we're talking about here. But, you know, a lot of times their games come out and they are highly considered, but they get like second from a lot of places. And it feels like this is the year where it's like, no, this is better than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I like everything about this better. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has 1 or 2 issues, in my opinion. And I think people might be like, let's finally really recognize Atlus this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the ordering of the list is probably, I think it's a pretty good representation of where people are feeling overall right now. I think even in that order, probably. I do think there is a bit of, and in case I feel like our audience knows this at this point because we talked about it so much. But in case you don't, it's not like Jeff Keighley himself voting on these things. He doesn't have his own people vote. It's a panel of games. It's us. It's games media people from across the industry, all casting their votes, and they get tallied up, combined with some other stuff, the fan vote and everything like that. But it's primarily games media declaring what theirs is. And so I do feel like there's still a not insignificant number of people who prefer the big epics over a smaller game. And so I'm not sure that the quality of Astrobot is enough to overcome the sheer value, scope, and presentation of Metaphor and Final Fantasy. So I do think it's probably one of those two this year.
Yep.
And I think you're right. Metaphor it's here to say, hey, Atlas is really freaking good at this. And if you want an RPG-ass RPG for RPG fans, Metaphor is giving it to you. Final Fantasy, masterpiece in its own right, but definitely catering more towards the casual audience. So maybe people do say, yeah, now is the time for an Atlas RPG to get us flowers. Sometimes they do get robbed a little bit. Persona 5 is one of the greatest games of all time. But it was not going to hold a candle to Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey back in 2017.
Yep. And that's, I think people will take that into consideration a little bit. And yeah, like anything, you kind of have to tell yourself a story and you want to feel good about your vote. And so I think Metaphor might be able to play on that a little bit. And clearly, based on the response, has earned it and deserves it. But Astrobot should win. Actually, Balatro should win.
I'm curious to see how this plays out in our game of the year.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think I do. I think I have a pretty good idea of how it actually is going to go, but yeah,
a lot of us are really high on certain games that just other people could not care less about. And it goes for Astrobot, that goes for Metaphor, it goes for Final Fantasy. We all.
I think Balatro's the one. Balatro. Everyone kind of. I know might not be on Mike's list, but I think it's going to be on everybody else's.
Balatro could pull an Overwatch.
Yeah.
An Overwatch of splitting the audience.
Oh, sure.
So that way the two front runners of the year actually don't win. And Balatro gets so many, tertiary votes that ends up winning.
Exactly. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Let's start wrapping things up. I have a poll question that we can bring up here. Actually, let me get there. We go. Let me refresh there. And I'm going to have to move that over there. There we go. Okay. Do you want an Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake? I'll just say yes. Why not? 31% said yes. 69% said no.
Nice.
Yeah, this is one they're definitely going to have to make the case for, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
The way y'all were talking about this the other day, I don't think you realize this is for a lot of people the Assassin's Creed game.
I get that, right? But it's I just feel like people are like, it's the Assassin's Creed because it's the one that feels like the best of the modern crop, and I just played it. So I mean,
no, that a lot of adults played when they were in middle and high school, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, it's definitely
You're old.
Yeah, for sure. But it is 10 years, right, since it came out? 12, 11 years?
Yeah, about 10 years.
Yeah. I get it, but it's I don't know. I feel like it's they just did a re-release of this game 4 or 5 years ago. So it is going to be kind of fresh in some people's minds.
It speaks to how much the industry has slowed down.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt.
A game like this, where 10 or 11, whatever it is, years out, and people are like, oh no, this can't get remade. And then you think back to, say, RE1 remake, Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green, Twin Snakes, how those games were 6 years out from their originals. And they were getting full on remakes. It's just kind of funny. And I think obviously the pandemic robbed us of a couple of years there. That's part of why time has dilated there for us.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I think it could be an interesting one to put out still.
I mean, I think it's going to be one that's good. That's going to do fine. I just think when they present it, I think they're going to have to give really point out all the reasons that this is a new version of that game, and that will win over the people who right now are saying no. And I think they will quickly jump over to yes once Ubisoft just makes a couple of points about. Here's why this feels
change some gameplay stuff. It was never my game, but if people have issues with the gameplay, point that out, and that's what people say. Oh, okay, it's a better version of this game that I like. Sure, maybe I'll pick it up.
Exactly. All right, new poll question here in a second. In the meantime, Sean, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
I am on twitter.com still as TurboShawn _SHAWN. I am here on Giant Bomb doing stuff later today. We got Worms Wednesday popping off, right?
That's right. We got Worms Wednesday
at 3 Eastern.
Yeah, it's going to be in the Blight Club spot because Lucy is out on assignment, obviously, since she's not here today on this show. But she'll be around on Friday, so we'll have Blight Club on Friday. But today it is Worms Wednesday. Yeah,
and if y'all, I know we had some issues with Armageddon on Friday because that's an older game. We're doing Worms WMD, Worms of Mass Destruction, I guess. Yeah. Much more modern one, so it's going to be a better stream overall. So if you like the chaos that we had on UPF the other day, I think you'll dig this one. I think we're gonna have some fun with this one. I tested the game out with some friends the other night. It's running well, and things just go a lot more smoothly. So that'll be fun.
Cheater! He's practicing. You know that's not allowed on Giant Bomb. No practicing allowed.
I played so much Worms, dude. Yeah. Like I'm so far ahead of you. I know my skills didn't exactly reflect that on Friday.
I'm like, I love Worms, and then we were playing. I'm like, I don't think I've played this in a quarter of a century.
Yeah, and then me and Dan are talking about a game you've never played.
Yeah, I'm like,
and then
I don't remember any of this.
Speaking of Dan in Japan, go watch the travelogue after you're done listening to this. It's a nice little a 25-minute one, so it's a nice solid watch there, but not too long. I think you can get in like your lunch break or something. And I had a lot of fun with that one, so please go check it out because there's some good gags and goofs in there. I think people enjoy.
I got to make my Worms team. I'll do that right after this. All right. Yeah, go check out that travelogue. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I'm going to watch it myself right after this. All right. New poll question. Here it is. Are you getting Nintendo Alarmo? Yes, no, and rubbing temples and sign WTF. Those are your options. Want you to do it.
Can we do a bonus poll? I think I'm going to toss a bonus poll up there.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
Duck Hunt versus Wii Sports.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that as well. Yeah. Wii Sports.
I just need vindication. Or, cry at how old our audience is.
I could check in on the Twitter one. At this moment, with 1,300 votes, almost 1,400 votes, Duck Hunt is losing with 23.6% of the
Thank
vote.
God.
Yep.
Okay.
Wii Sports is 76.4%.
My Mike 200 alt accounts are kind of battling everyone else.
Doing what he can out there, but not quite pulling it off. People are like, even people are like, that's pretty good for Duck Hunt, getting 23.6%. All right. Anything else? We'll get the results of this poll on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, for the rest of the week, you can expect more Game Mess Mornings. You can expect voicemail dump truck tomorrow with special guest Chef Reacts.
707 exit flu. Get your food questions in for that one.
It's still time, but not a lot more time. So make those calls tonight at 3 a.m.
And maybe go listen to the last episode if you haven't listened to it before, because that was an all-timer. Yes. That was so good.
Yeah, and they'll also give you an idea of the Dan food stories that did not come
exactly,
up.
The type of things we're looking for there.
Otherwise, tomorrow we're gonna play some Sparking Zero on this website. Let's do that. We'll play some Sparking Zero, show you guys off some Dragon Ball. Mike did mention he played it and he agreed with what I said on the Bombcast yesterday. I still think it's perfectly fine.
It's for fans. Yep. It's absolutely a love letter for fans. So definitely not gonna be for everyone, but it's cool that it exists for those who really want it.
Fans of the genre rejoice. And then
exactly. Frothing demand on Friday.
Frothing
demand increases.
Frothing demand does always increase. Keep that in mind, everybody. On Friday, Game Mess Mornings once again, and then we BCR could pop in at any point. I forget when GM wants to do it exactly.
So the plan is to do GMM, then immediately do BCR after that, and then do Blight Club after that. So it's going to be a rapid fire Friday.
And that BCR will be a focus on metaphor. So a little bit even more.
It should just be a metaphor review cast.
And then on Friday, I forget. No, that's right. That's when we're doing Blight Club. So yeah, that's right. Okay, right. Cool. Yeah, excellent. That's a week. Yes, I will sit out BCR Jan if you do not mean. It sounds like he's got the whole crew over there ready to go. Okay.
Yeah, I think we might even have more people than usual if everything lines up. So
yeah, and I think that'd be ideal for that conversation. I want to hear as many voices as possible from people who played a variety of different hours. So, I'm looking forward to listening to it at the very least. All right, everybody. Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a fun time, Jeff.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching at home. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.